Recording in
It
progress.
was the cheesy American lady, isn't it? Recording in progress.
Listen, don't say cheesy American.
Yeah,
I've got an American passport. You don't go saying cheesy
I think
American.
you'll find my dad's American, so I have every right to say cheesy American.
Dang it. Okay, well, for people who are here live, welcome. I'm hoping we'll get a few more people in. And if not, if you're members of the Happy Handling community, you can get access to it after in replay. I am joined today by my wonderful friend, who I've never actually met, but I'd like to think of her as a friend. Um, the fabulous Emma Johnston from Speak Dog. Hello, Emma. How are you?
Hello. Hot is probably the first thing to say. I don't know if it's hot everywhere, but certainly up here we are absolutely melting. But melting aside, it's really lovely to be here. And of course, as always, I'm always happy to ramble on about dogs. So, yay.
Yay!
Yay.
Yes, it is. Well, it's hot here.
Oh, it is
Um,
hot.
is it hot where anybody else is right now? I'm guessing it is because they're both near me. Um,
Yeah,
but I've got a Peroni Zero, and I'm just saying zero. Don't pay
zero,
everyone zero.
zero.
Um, um, but when I got married, it reminded me of the weather today and how hot it is right now. I don't know what 96 degrees is in
Fahrenheit.
that's Fahrenheit. What's it in
It's
centigrade?
Fahrenheit, South. Yeah, I don't
No,
know.
okay. It was hot
It
anyway.
was just hot.
It was hot. Reminds me of that today. And yeah, it was a bit miserable. But definitely cool drink weather.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. All I've done all day, a lot of it is just keep refreshing my dog's water bowls. Um,
Because
picking them up.
mine would drink a lot of water. I struggle to get mine to drink, and I've found that if I go for a walk at the local, there's a National Trust. Is it National Trust or is there another national? One of these national.
One of the national ones.
The national ones. They have streams and everything, and the dogs run through them and drink the water. So that's the most I ever see them drink water.
Yeah,
Is
mine aren't huge drinkers. I'm a raw feeder on personal choice, so they get quite a lot of hydration in sort
yeah.
of in their food. But obviously, with the amount of dogs that I have here,
Mm.
it is a constant topping up of water bowls just because I don't have hundreds of water bowls scattered everywhere. So I do try and make sure that they're always topped up.
Yeah. That would be like that would be a lot of water bowls.
It would be a lot of water bowls. Yeah. Yeah.
So, why don't we do this? Because I know the two lovely ladies that are in this now, um, they have participated in your
I
wonderful.
know they have. I recognize the names.
But for people who don't know you or haven't participated in one of your webinars,
Mm.
um, can you tell us a little bit about you and Speak Dog?
Yeah. So obviously my name is Emma. I set up Speak Dog, oh gosh, 2011, but I'd actually been training way before that. So I joined um, a puppy franchise back in my original day where I was really lucky to shadow and mentor an area manager. And I actually done that for quite a few years. And we specialised in puppy development. And then I kind of, after so many years, branched out and decided to go it alone, and I set up Speak Dog. And I've been a behaviourist for obviously studied, etc. Done my education, continue to do my education, even though it's not the knowledge I really, really enjoy. The actual intake and the tests and the writing and the exams is not something that actually floats my boat massively. um, but the learning side of it actually does. I'm a much better. I take in things audibly much better and retain that information than I do reading, unfortunately. So I always find that a big challenge. But what I did notice when I started off more in the training side initially was actually how much the behavior obviously impacted the training. And it's always really hard because when you talk to clients, they are two very separate entities in regards to how they work, but they kind of amalgamate and cross over. So
Yeah.
it's really hard because you go, okay, well, with training, what we're doing is we're obviously teaching the dog a new skill. Whereas with behavior, what we're really dealing with is an emotion and how we deal with that emotion. But of course, in order for a dog to learn, they've got to be in the right emotional state. And so you get this whole kind of ball of wool again that kind of crosses over. So I really learned initially with the training side how important it was to kind of really have that understanding in behaviour. Personally as well, just type of person I am when it comes to working with animals. For me, just being compassionate, and that was one of the biggest things. There's so much information out there with regards to what you can do and how you can do it. And for me, it's always been about look at it from the dog's point of view. Um, so yeah, I set up Speak Dog. I kind of I would say 90% more behavior than training, even though it does cross over. I get some quite complex cases come my way. But I've been a behaviorist for 14, 15 years now. In my personal life, if anybody's interested in my crazy personal life, just a little bit. So I breed, race, and show working Siberian Huskies. So I sled dog race all over the UK. I say I breed, as Claire and Nicola would have heard me said in my talk. I bred and I kept. So I don't breed and I sell. I bred and I kept. I currently have 11 dogs here, male, female, some from rescue. A few I've bought from some amazing. I'm doing this because I'm actually watching them out in the garden and seeing what they're up to at the moment. A couple I've bought from some amazing working kennels abroad, and then I have mum, dad, auntie, and the four siblings here that I bred. And it's just giving me, I feel quite privileged. Being very honest, when I had the puppies and I kept all of them, my gin bill went through the roof, and I was often found crying on the floor, rocking, wondering what the hell I'd done, keeping four puppies. But it's just been such a privilege, and certainly from the job that I'm in, it's been such alert. It's just given me. I've been able to watch babies grow from. Do you know what I mean? I welcomed them into the world, and I've got four dogs here that are siblings that have all had exactly the same upbringing. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, pretty much same experiences, are raised the same. But you wouldn't find four dogs that are more different in absolutely every way. Do you know what I mean? Shape or form. I've been able to watch them develop. Um, I watch the communication between them and how that differs from some of the other dogs that are here. How there's definitely much more of a little sort of family unit communication going on, and communication is definitely more fluid and clearer between the family sort of units as opposed to the other ones. But I've got neutered, unneutered, I've got male, I've got female, so I've really got as much of a mixed bag as you can possibly get. And it's one of the things that I always like when I'm challenged on anybody that kind of says about being a sort of positive or ethical, sort of compassionate trainer is, well, what do you know about pack mentality? And you watch me start twitching at certain wording being used, and then when I start to go, well, actually, uh, up until last sort of 2 years ago, where unfortunately due to old age I lost a couple. I've had 13 dogs here from rescues, being bred, um, being bought abroad from some wonderful ethical breeders. Like I said, I've got male, female, neutered, unneutered. So yeah, I think it stands me
They're your teachers.
pretty good stead for learning and really seeing what goes on. So yeah, it's absolutely fascinating, and I feel extremely privileged really to be able to kind of enjoy and do the things that I do with them. I always say to people that my happy place is being home of an evening, knowing that the dogs have had everything that they've needed for that day, and I'm sat there with a glass of wine, and my dog's all led around me happy, and that's Emma's happy place.
I love that picture of you that I actually included in the to promote this conversation. I I love that you were just sitting there with the four. Well, you've only got four of them there, only four. Um, but yeah, it was lovely, lovely.
I always remember one of my best friends actually was around my house, and I was sat on the sofa, two-seater sofa, and I was wearing I've got a lurcher, a rescue lurcher, bless her, that I took out of the dog pound, and I'm led there, and I've got the rescue lurcher kind of wearing me like she does. I've got my hand over here trying to save a glass of wine, and I've just got dogs led all over me. And I remember my friend taking a picture, and I said, "What are you doing?" And he went, "If anything describes Emma, it's this picture right here." A glass of wine smothered by dogs, and I was like, wonderful. I'm happy with that. I'm okay with that. If
Fabulous.
that's how I'm seen, I'm more than comfortable with that.
So you and I connected because I can't remember if you reached out to me or I reached out to you, or who knows? I think maybe did Daniela?
Yeah, I think you'd seen me on collaborating with
Someone.
yeah, with Daniela.
Yeah. And it was so I love the way the product that you have. I say product, it sounds a bit clinical, but I love what you're doing, and I encourage all my clients to jump on board and include it with as man. It's basically you're going to get it even if you don't want it. I include it with all of my programs now because I find it. I think it's so invaluable. So tell us a little bit about what it is that currently the you and I are how we're connected, the product that you've got, and where that is potential, where that's going to go in the near future.
Yeah, thank you. So, um, as I said, I've been doing this job a long time, and one of the things that was really apparent to me in my behavioural role to a degree is the fact that there's loads of great sort of webinars and courses and recordings out there with regards to dog body language. But one of the things that both myself and I've got a great network of colleagues as well, sort of, I mean, clinical animal behaviourists, obviously liaising with some VBs as well. And from all across the kind of spectrum, one of the things that was becoming apparent was that for us to be able to do our job and to be able to do it well, very often, most understandably, most of the time, we're not with our clients. So we have got a very short kind of snippet of time with our clients. And depending on our job role with our clients as well, they sometimes expect something different of us other than talking about what the intricacies of communication. But what I was finding, particularly in my job role, is I would have a client contact me and they would tell me, do you know what I mean, I've got a dog that's reactive, or do you know what I mean, I'd get a label thrown at me, which is completely understandable. But then when you actually ask the client to break down what happened, understandably, they would look and go, I don't know what you mean. And for us to be able to do our jobs as best we can for both the human client and the dog client, what that really relies on is the all important guardian in the middle, because they are the link to the dog and they are the link to, do you know what I mean, the link to us to a degree. They are that middle ground. You think when you go into a vet, the first thing that the vet will say is, okay, well, what's wrong? And they rely on us giving these descriptions. It's really, do you know what I mean, it's really important. But the issue that I felt, I say the issue, I don't mean it that way, but the issues that I was finding is that what we would get is the interpretations of what was happening. So we would get one of the things, if you speak to any behaviourist, and I don't know if this is the same, obviously, in the grooming sector, but one of the things that we always get is the behaviourist is, oh, no, no, in that situation, they're fine. And when you go, could you describe what fine looks like? And people just don't know. They literally do not know how to gather that information and give that description, because we are so used as humans as to labeling something. It's really common for us to do that. Now, one of the things that's really important to think about on that front is, even human to human, we misunderstand, misinterpret, don't pick up on how somebody else is feeling. We might say something that comes across a bit abrupt, a bit rich. I mean, I am the world's worst for typing a message to somebody, and I've got something in my head that needs to be said, and I forget all kind of formalities and niceties and just get out what I need to say and then send it. And then typically for me, the minute I hit send, I go, oh, that
Came
sounded
across a bit harsh.
that sounded a bit rude. That's a bit blunt, and it certainly wasn't meant to be. But in my head, I just need to get out the thing that do you know what I mean, that I need to say. So between humans, we are, do you know what I mean, we miscommunicate, we misunderstand. We are also really good at, as humans, at hiding emotions as well, and covering those, do you know what I mean, covering those emotions up. For anybody that's married, I'm sure you would have been in a situation where husband goes, all right, and you go, fine, absolutely fine. And that's not what you mean at all. You do not mean.
Perhaps why I'm divorced now.
Well, yeah, I just stay single. I've got far too many dogs. But I know people there. It's definitely been, yeah, I'm absolutely fine, and they definitely aren't absolutely fine. So even within our own species, we are. Sorry, this is my phone. I can't figure out how to put it on silent because they've updated it with new software, and I don't
Didn't
know.
hear it, so you're
Oh,
all
that's
right.
all right then. Um, so yeah, even between our own species, it's really easy to misunderstand, misinterpret, miss it, or for us to cover it up. And so when it comes to our dogs, all of those things still sort of massively exist. So when we're trying to share this information, what we tend to do is, we, like I said, we use these labels of, yeah, they were fine, or oh, they were reactive in this scenario, and that what we often get is what I call the shouting, and we're really good at noticing the shouting because it's loud and it's really obvious. But what we very often miss is all the tiny little whispers that happen. And the impact of that is that actually that has consequences on both the information that and how we respond at that moment in time, but also the information that we share with the professional as well. And what we have to remember as professionals is that, like I said, we have this limited amount of time. So we can only support when we're not there if we get accurate information sharing back.
Yeah, and you know what? The other thing is, um, you mentioned about is it the same in the grooming world? It's absolutely the same
Is
because
it?
because people when they come, especially, but they'll go, and I require a meet and greet before, and even this week, someone had booked a meet and greet followed immediately by a session, and I contacted her and I said, no, um, that's not going to help the dog. And so many people do that where they say, but they're fine.
Yeah.
Well, how do you know they're fine with being groomed? Have you seen them? Well, no, we're told by the groomer that they are. And even the most confident dogs in their world, if we put them into a novel environment, their language changes. So I require a meet and greet mainly to explain more and try and share some knowledge that
Yeah.
is going to get them on board with my airy fairy way of working with dogs, right? So it's got the dog gets to just look around, and we get to observe the dog together. So I can ask questions and then go, oh, do they do that? Is that normal?
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, they do that all the time, but they're fine.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure that you probably find as well, and this is something that becomes apparent to me when I do my sort of initial assessment stage as well, is the fact that um, the dog can be taken somewhere, and as hard as it is to say, sometimes even the professional can miss the fact. A professional will see a quiet dog and go, "Oh no, no, the dog's absolutely fine." The amount of dogs that I have worked with that say have an ear issue, and do you know what I mean? They'll go, "Oh well, when they're at home with me, I can't get the eardrops in, but if I go and take them to so and so, do you know what I mean? They can get the eardrops in, and they're absolutely fine." And then it's really hard as well because you kind of have to say, well, I expect without, do you know what I mean, sort of seeing what's going on at the moment, that like you said, that different environment has probably just made them quiet. And actually, if you learn to observe and gather all the bits of information, later on down the line, when you become a little bit more knowledgeable and able to look at the interpretational side, actually, again, that quietness is instantly perceived as being okay. And then all of a sudden, when they bark or they do something, it's like, oh, that, do you know what I mean? This dog's suddenly gone reactive, and it's like, no, 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 no. This dog has just spent the last, I don't know how long, going, please don't, please don't. Can you? I'd really prefer it if you didn't. I don't like. Can you stop? And then eventually, when they people go, oh, and it's really, really hard because from my angle, from my perspective, not only then do I have to um, uh, uh, sort of have a chat with the guardian and say, okay, what you're seeing is potentially not a dog that's okay. But also, you might then have to say, actually, in that situation, what that professional is seeing, I don't think is okay. Do you know what I mean? Okay, either, and you kind of unravel their world a little bit. It's quite harsh when they've gone, oh, okay, but I was also told that my dog was fine, and that's really hard because sometimes they rely on the interpretational side from somebody else, and that might not be right as well. So sometimes it can be really challenging for people where they've been led to believe that the dog's okay, and actually the dog isn't. You're on mute.
Sorry.
Do it by the power of dance and mime.
No, you were very good though. I'm glad I was actually had my sound on so I could hear you saying that. Um, the I think oh gosh, what did you just say? I literally had another brain. What?
Professional. When the
Oh
client
yes,
goes to the
but I
professional.
think this is where there's also this fine line between that. I think if you're going to be a trainer, you need to have behavior because I find behavior way much more of value, that side of it, because if a trainer doesn't have the behavior knowledge and they have the, oh, you do this in this situation, their little template, they are probably missing some things.
Yeah.
So I do think it's
With training,
should
very
have
often what
both.
you get is A, do you know what I mean? A and B gets you to C. And the thing with behavior is that you've probably got to go via E, F, G, H, I,
Circuitous,
and
but yeah,
J. Yeah, absolutely. As a species, I find we really like boxes, and we really like this kind of black and white, this yes or no, this do this and you're going to get this answer. We're kind of pre-programmed as humans, understandably, to go for the shortest, quickest, most obvious route to a degree. We're kind of like, I want it, and how do I get it quickly and directly? You've only got to look at how we shop online now, where, do you know what I mean, you can sign up to something and get it next day, and
instant gratification.
absolutely, and even how we now potentially look at dogs and purchasing dogs. I mean, personally, when I bought, like I said, the ones that I bought from abroad, I actually waited years for those dogs, years and years. And nowadays, even getting a dog, it's I kind of want it, and I want it now, and it's just the way that we are. And so when we look at dogs, it's kind of like, okay, but I want to know, if my dog does this, what does it, do you know what I mean, what does it mean this, and if I see this, does it mean this?
Ah, but then that's our favorite. Excuse me.
Absolutely.
It
And
depends.
this is it. We're always looking for the black or the white. And actually what I say to people is, most of the time it's this big grey mass in the middle. It's there are so many variables to our dogs, and there's so many variables even to sort of communication to a degree. So when you look at individual dogs, just like people, some are better communicators than others. Some are much more clearer, some are much more concise, some are more literate, some are we've got such an array, and it's exactly the same with our dogs. Again, looking at my guys, I've got a great video which Claire and Nicola would have seen. I think you've seen as well, of my two dogs,
Yes.
and it's the most beautiful conversation that you can see. I've got one that isn't necessarily a great communicator, and I've got one that's level expert at communicating. But again, we're very much drawn in when we look at communication as, well, this definitely means this, and this definitely means this. Now, as I say in the learning to listen session that I sort of designed, is that context when it comes to communication is everything. So I can take a picture of a dog and it could look like it has wear eye, and people go, "Oh my God, the dog's got wear eye. That means it's feeling this." Actually, what I was doing was chucking it a piece of chicken, and it was wide-eyed and ready to catch the, do you know what I mean, the piece of chicken. And so it's there isn't this, oh well, if you see this, this is absolutely going, do you know what I mean, going to mean this. If you see, again, as I say in the session, the learning to listen, we've got breeds, for example. You look at your brachycephalic breeds, your Frenchies, your do you know what I mean, your Cavaliers and things like that. Actually, because of their head shape, it's quite normal as part of the aesthetics of that dog to sometimes see the whites of the eyes. So there are so many variables to dogs and communication. I've really tried to avoid going down, certainly on the first one, giving any kind of label and any kind of interpretation. I wanted something that you literally just go, well, what do I need to observe? Because so many behaviors and so many things that our dogs do are dismissed as normal, not being of importance. So
And I'm guilty of that as well. Is that, oh, they've always done that kind of thing. And it's not until I started getting more knowledge that I was like, yeah, that's not normal.
yeah.
So it's, I think we are all guilty of it. But it is, the more I know and the more I learn, the more I realize the little I know.
But I think that's it, and you've kind of hit the nail on the head there, which is, do you know what I mean? One of my sayings with anything is, you don't know what you don't know, and this
But
was
when you do know, you do better.
absolutely, and this was one of the things that I was consistently finding. And then I spoke to um, a couple of people that are quite prevalent, do you know what I mean, within all areas of sort of dog behaviour, that a lot of people, I won't name drop, but sort of some quite well-known people within the industry. And it was really interesting that, again, they were saying that they've had clients come to them that have been doing work maybe with somebody previously, but actually when you drill down to give me the observations, they still didn't have that skill set. They still couldn't give you, do you know what I mean, just how to do those observations, because it didn't register that taking down the fact that the dog was blinking was actually really important to be able to note down. It's like, well, okay, little things that, yes, okay, once you point them out, but until you know to look for those things, you're not going to take note of them. And so it was
You know
just,
what? Funny you should say that, because today at work, I had a little dog in, and a lot of dogs that come to Happy Henry's are okay with the cat. Or Mike, one of my cats, I only have one now, but is he's like very calm. But this dog was at the gate of the catio, and she was growling and barking, and Alexander was just lying there. But I noticed he was doing really slow blinking,
Yeah,
and it was really cool to watch him. He's very good with getting dogs okay. Um, and it was just interesting to watch him just not moving. And all he did was really slow blinking.
yeah.
And after a while, the dog was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. There's so much information to get. And as I said, as the ladies that's live with us now would have seen in the session, I've got a couple of videos up that one's
Oh, you going to
one's
show some?
I haven't got them ready, I'm afraid.
Don't worry,
Sorry.
don't worry.
But I've got a couple of videos, and one's 7 seconds long, and yet the amount of information in 7 seconds is huge. But in the video, sort of generally, it was a client video that they kept very kindly allowed me to use, and actually the dog was physically shaking. And when I asked the client, okay, well, tell me what you see in this video, they seen the obvious shaking, but what they missed was all the other information that was going on. And actually, through the learning to listen session, there's several videos, and they're all pretty short, apart from the one at the end. But there's so much communication going on, so much. And for me, I just think our dogs have worked so hard over the years at adapting and changing and recognizing all sorts on us. So from things like teeth, obviously, if another dog shows another dog, do you know what I mean, teeth, whereas with us, they've recognised that that has, do you know what I mean, a completely different context to our posture, our movement, even down to our breathing. Do you know what I mean? They've learned how to recognise changes in our breathing, and they have worked so bloody hard.
And what have we done?
Literally, they have worked so hard at adapting and trying their best to understand us. And it's one of those things that I just think I get. Do you know what I mean? I'm not expecting everybody to go out and want to geek out on it like some of us do. Do you know what I mean? I really do get that. But on the flip side, I do think that even for me personally, even if you don't live with a dog, dogs are part of our world. And I think it's just so simple to, considering we come across dogs probably way more than any other, do you know what I mean, any more domesticated animal. I think it's just so, would be so great for people to just to be able to learn that little bit, because we all know how frustrating it is as a human when you're trying to communicate with another human and somebody's not listening, or they're not getting it. And I just think, my God, our dogs are so wonderfully tolerant of our ignorances at times.
You know, I just finished listening to, I think it's actually called A Dog's World, with Jessica Pierce and Mark Beckhoff, and how they talk about, you know what, if people disappeared from the earth today, dogs would be okay because they can adapt.
Absolutely.
And so yeah,
You've
it's
only got to look at do you know what I mean, the trajectory of evolution and domestication, if do you know what I mean, if you really want to get into it. And yeah, do you know what I mean, from where they started to where they are now is just absolutely huge. But I do feel that they work much harder
mm.
at adapting and trying to become part of our world. And I think it's
Well, we've kind of forced that on them, haven't we, unfortunately? I mean, that because of the way that humans are, they've created what they wanted to live in their world. So, in order for the dogs to survive, they've had to adapt. Otherwise, humans would get very frustrated and get rid of them all.
yeah, well.
You know, I mean, I feel that a lot of the time it's like it's
I think sort of when we look at, say, breeds, which obviously actual breeds haven't been around that many years. Do you know what I mean? Actual specific sort of breeds of dogs that were bred, say, more purely for sort of aesthetic look over sort of workability. But we as people again have um, selected both behavior traits and aesthetics. Do you know what I mean? Aesthetics of a dog, and I think it's really tough on dogs because um, we've done this and then we kind of get frustrated that we've got dogs that then exhibit these behaviors that we get frustrated that we
That
get
we wanted.
absolutely. I mean, yeah, it is just one of those things, isn't it, where we're kind of, as a species, we can be kind of unfair to a degree, in as much as, yeah, we've done this and we've very often chosen to go out and get a dog, and then elements of that dog, it's like, oh, but I don't like that. But that's what we've signed into to a degree. And it's, yeah, it's one of those sort of minefields. But dogs work really hard at trying to understand us. And I think one of the things that we are still really prevalent in is that training side. But again, so one of the things that I say in my webinar is, in the Learning to Listen session, is we're still really fixated. I think the balance isn't right for me yet. And one of the things that I'm really passionate about is going, okay, it's absolutely great to train. And yes, do you know what I mean, get in with a good trainer, a good professional. But very often when you go to the vet, one of the things that you will normally hear is, have you booked into a training course? What you don't hear is, does that training course help you learn about what your dog communicates? We are still very one-sided. We don't have this two, do you know what I mean, sort of two-way street. And I guess from your point of view as well, especially with breeds that really need that grooming as well, I would really like to have this more open dialogue where, rather than what we focus on is, okay, well, have you gone to training because you want the dog to do as, do you know what I mean, to do as we need them to do? Okay, what is this dog going to need? And have you got that in place, and where are you going, and what is that giving you? Because that's huge. Because do you know what I mean? The reason that I put this session out there was to collaborate with other ethical people, where the client gets a community. And this is what I want. I want the client to get a community of people that are pretty much on the same hymn sheet, so that they feel really supported and they get that information. And so I've got to be honest, I actually expected the grooming community to be the last ones to jump on my bandwagon. And yet you guys have been phenomenal. I mean, I have got so many groomers, I've got grooming academies that have got people to sign on, and I've actually been blown away by the grooming community, and just how far you guys have, without sounding condescending, how far grooming has come
Oh, that's what we
recently.
want. Yeah, we want to spread the word. But you're right. If we don't give, guardians don't know what they get a dog for the first time and they rely upon professionals, and it's always drilled into them. And I had a conversation, Sue Williamson and I had a conversation with, excuse me, can you, I know it's hot. Sue Williamson and I had a conversation with a breeder recently because she wanted to do better to help her clients go out and look for a groomer, what questions to ask. Because there's a lot of stories and information out there that, oh, you don't need to get your wool mixed breed groomed until they're 6 months old. Don't
Oh, I've
worry
had that.
about it.
I've had, yeah,
And I
I've
don't
had,
even know where this came from,
yeah,
but the breeder has sent herself, and doing puppy programs, it's a relatively new thing, and compared to the number of groomers, it's a relatively small thing. A lot of groomers will do puppy packages, but that's still like, oh, with that one session we will bath them and blow dry them in one session, and it's like, oh my gosh,
yeah.
that's overwhelm. um
I think in the dog industry, one of the things that I found quite a few years ago, Like I said, I've not even really added up how long I've been in it. I know that I've been running Speak Dog for a long time, but uh, one of the things that I found was that actually it became very isolated, and everybody became um, not everybody, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but the main bulk of it became very grabby. It was like, no, 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 it's me, and I want to teach all that, and I want to do all that, and I want to cover that, and I want to keep everybody coming into to my business. And I actually started to work. I got invited into a group of professionals, and I've got to be honest, I'm always very careful who I hang my star. Do you know what I mean, my star with? Um, and I was a bit like, oh, I don't know, I don't know. It was a couple of other fantastic behaviorists, holistic groomer. We've got an amazing nutritionist who's got a master's, do you know what I mean, master's degree, vet nurse, etc. And the one thing that it sort of showed me and actually led to me doing this and sort of branching out and going out there and sort of speaking to people like yourselves was that by people, ethical people working, do you know what I mean, working together, everybody benefits. Everybody benefits. And actually, what
Absolutely.
the feedback that I got from a lot of businesses like yourself was that it's actually really nice for the client to step away from the person that they're working with and have something outside of that and then go back to that professional.
Yes, because it's one of those that, you know, it also, I think, gives clients the if they're not only learning it from me, a lot of people come to holistic grooming or consent grooming, they're quite skeptical. They're
Mm,
like, yeah, some people I get, they're like, okay, we're at last resort, so we're going to try this. But they're very, very skeptical of it.
yeah,
So already we've got that barrier that they are determined not to go down the woo-woo path kind of thing.
yeah,
And so by being able to say, okay, I want you to go and watch this with Emma, or go and look into this and have someone else, another professional for them to talk to, it not only helps them go, okay, we are on the right path because another person has said it, it's not the only
absolutely.
one.
Yeah,
And but even vets as well. I have now got clients who they'd gone to their vet previously, and they'd gone about the behavior, but now I get them to observe and track. So next time so then I write a report and that they can take back to their vets. I
yeah,
put them in touch with other professionals, whether it's a behaviorist or Garland Meyer therapist or a dynamic dog
mm,
practitioner. So then they can go back to their vet and go, you know what, it's just not my woo-woo groomer that's
yeah.
doing, it's all these others. And I just think it benefits, you're right, it benefits everybody.
We're all massively intrinsically linked to a degree. And do you know what I mean? I've had sort of clients previously where we've had touch issues, handling issues, do you know what I mean? All those types of things. And obviously, like you said, I will liaise and work with, do you know what I mean, somebody who can do, say, dynamic dog, or if we know that there's a problem, depending on what they need, it might be that they go to, do you know what I mean, a myotherapist, for example. But one
Or
of
just a
what,
physiotherapist, right?
yeah,
Or
absolutely.
hydro. Having all those different connections to me, as well as groomers, because one dog that I don't think is suitable for me for whatever reason, but I might know another groomer that, you know what, I think this would be better for you.
Absolutely.
Rather than me saying I want to get everybody and take it, it's way too much pressure for me.
Absolutely. And the thing is as well, I'm not a groomer. Do you know what I mean? I've got huskies, the hair literally falls out of them. I blast them with the, do you know what I mean, with the hairdryer blaster every so often. Do you know what I mean? I've got absolutely zero knowledge on cuts and do you know what I mean, and things like that. And for me, what's really vital is getting a network of people where if I have a dog that has a touch issue, I need to be able to liaise with a professional that is going to work to what that dog can cope with. And that is really important because for me, if that dog, say, has to go to a groomer every 6 weeks, and if we say have eliminated as much as we can via veterinary, do you know what I mean, veterinary checks, etc., that we don't think that there is anything going on necessarily pain or health wise, that this is actually, do you know what I mean, a learned behaviour to a degree. The problem is that if the dog then continues to go somewhere, the client is in effect going to waste money with me, because for every 3 steps we take forward, when that dog goes to another professional that maybe isn't working within what that dog needs, and I want to be clear, it's not to say that they're not good at their job, it's to say that they just might not be suitable for what that dog needs at that moment in time.
Absolutely.
Then what might happen is, of course, we are going to have this kind of rebound effect that the dog goes forward, and then every time it has to go there, we're going to go right the way back again. And so it's, for me, like I said, it's really helping clients as much as we can go on that forward trajectory of working together. And when you can liaise and go, right, okay, I mean, it might be that, I mean, I have a client that goes to a groomer, and the groomer messages me and goes, right, okay, is there anything that you would recommend that I avoid, or anything that I do or don't do in this scenario because you know the dog? I go, okay, when you're doing that, is it possible if you've got video, or can you take some notes and let me know what's happened afterwards? And this is where it's really changing, because like I said, years ago it was all me. This is my business and I don't want to pass anything out because I don't know if I trust anybody. Would they try and take my client? And the learning to listen session was a big leap of faith for me, because I really had to put myself out there and go, hi everyone, I've got an idea, do you like it? And
We love it. We love it.
thank you. But it was a really big leap of faith in going, okay, I've got this, like you said, this kind of product, and actually this product, surprisingly, really isn't out there. Everything that's out there is the next steps above. What we haven't got is this foundation product. Now, who can this product help? Everyone, absolutely everyone, from like I said, from professionals to guardians to even people that don't live with dogs but just want to maybe learn if they, do you know what I mean, come into an interaction with dogs. And so for me, it was that, right, we need to come up with something that's um that helps people get those real sort of solid foundations.
Keep talking.
um so we need to help people get something that's a really solid foundation, but without bamboozling people, and without throwing all the buzzwords and all the kind of bigger words that we tend to hear um when we see some of these things going on. So we hear words like, do you know what I mean, appeasement, and we hear all these things, but we don't even know what we're, for a lot of us, we don't even know what we're looking for to be able to even put that label to it. So we end up using all these large kind of buzzwords that we hear being thrown around, but we actually don't know the context and what information we need to gather. And for me, I really don't care what somebody knows when it comes to the words that they use. I just want the descriptions. If you can give me a description, that is more powerful than, do you know what I mean, than anything. Whether you know what it means behind it is, do you know what I mean, isn't important to me at that moment in time. Just give me what happens, because I can do that interpreting from there. Do you know what I mean? I've had, do you know what I mean, somebody walking down the road and they go, oh no, no, the dog's absolutely fine with people. And I go, okay, describe fine. And they look at me and I'm like, right. And I go, so tell me what they do. And then we talk through it, and we do the session, and they go, yeah, well, actually the dog didn't, does just, the dog's fine. The dog doesn't even look at people. Now, for somebody like me, I'm like, that's actually something really big, that the dog just doesn't look at anything. It just carries on in a forward motion, and doesn't. But of course, to the guardian at that moment in time, the dog is quiet. The dog makes minimal movement, so the label fine is instantly put on the dog.
But don't you find that that's what the active copers are? That's why I passive copers are difficult, because they no one notices because they're no problem, right? They're
Absolutely.
quiet, they sit in the corner, they don't bother us, they're okay. They're the
Absolutely.
ones that I think have more struggles than the active copers because people get to a point with the active copers where they're like, I can't deal with this anymore. I need to get help.
Yeah.
The passive ones, they're
Yeah.
just like,
Well, I
they're
think we've all
fine.
heard the phrase, it's the phrase, it's the quiet ones that you need to watch.
Mm.
We hear it in humans, it's the quiet ones that you need to watch. And very often for these dogs, the the coping strategy of being quiet and kind of trying to go under the radar, they might be lucky that they go through life and it's a strategy that kind of tends to work pretty well. But for a lot of the dogs that I work with, it's been a coping strategy that has failed after a certain amount of time, and then they start to do more obvious behaviors, more shouts. And of course, when a dog turns to things like barking and lunging and snapping, everybody stands back, everybody gives space, everybody reacts. And what the dog very often then does is go, right, that's how I get heard. That's what it is that I need to do to get somebody to stop, listen, give me, do you know what I mean?
And
Give
they're
me,
so efficient because they go, okay, then I'm going to not bother with any of that stuff that
yeah,
I was doing. This got their attention.
absolutely. And it's we're also bound very often, I find, by certainly if we've had multiple dogs over the years as well, it's really hard for guardians to adjust to the fact that the next dog communicates very differently from the previous dog. That's a really hard transition for a lot of guardians. If I'd have had a pound for every time I'm like, but my last dog didn't do this, I'd be a rich lady.
I mean, you're a little different because you've had so many dogs, or you have so many dogs. But
Absolutely.
even I don't know about you and how you got into this in the first place, which I would like to find out about. But I find that a lot of people in the professional dog world, they had perhaps had a lot of dogs, but then they get that one that blew all the
Absolutely.
others out of the water, and
Absolutely.
nothing that you'd done before worked.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, what got you into it? Did you have that dog?
Um, no, yes and no. So I've been really lucky to have many breeds over the years. So I've enjoyed lots of breeds from Labradors to Beagles, um, uh, and all sorts. But for me, the thing that sort of really piqued my interest to a degree was when I got into Siberians, and the difference in breed and the noticeable there was this kind of, as we say, every dog is absolutely an individual, but the idea of breed is it gives you potentially a rough blueprint to what you might expect. And I was presented with this dog that was absolutely this blueprint of what was to expect. But in with that was it was a breed that there was sort of in this sport that I'd done. So I started out, I didn't start out in sled dog racing. I started out in canicross. So I actually used to, believe it or not at the time, I used to run quite a lot of ultra marathons, so 50 milers. Uh, yeah, yeah.
Oh.
I've now got no knees, sort of
See,
off
that's
the
why
back of
I
it.
don't run 50 milers.
Yeah, I've now
It's
got no
all
knees
because I'm
left,
trying to protect my
unfortunately.
knees.
That's the one.
That's it.
It's all about self-preservation, really.
Yeah, don't do
Self-preservation.
anything. It's just to self-preserve.
But yeah, the thing that really got me into it was being around a big group of people that all had the same breed of dog, but that all had different dogs. And it was that moment where you could kind of quantify this big group of dogs, but that were all very, very different. And actually, it was one person who turned around and said to me, and I'll never forget this. And I think this is probably more also about the time of it as well, years sort of where we were with dogs years ago. But I always remember being told I'd never get the best out of my dogs because they were treated softly like pets. Now, All of mine live indoors together. They're not crated, they're not kennelled. I don't have a single crate or kennel in the house. Just purely that's my choice. And they are on the sofa. In fact, my friends laugh at me because if they phone me or video phone me, I'm sat on the floor and all of mine are conkers up on the sofa. And do you know what I mean? And they can go sort of where they like. But for me, there was this kind of where are we coming from where we believe that in order to get something from an animal, we have to be harsh. Where has this kind of come from? And I was really keen to go, if this is the rhetoric that we're kind of at the moment, I want to be a part of something where we change that rhetoric because actually my dogs do pretty well. um, they do very, do you know what I mean? They do very, very well. They're phenomenal working dogs, and yet they are first and foremost my world, my family, and do you know what I mean? And that is what they are. And I just wanted to be a part of something where we communicated with animals with a much kinder view. And that was literally it. I wanted to be different from the rhetoric that was out there because I didn't believe that we had to be harsh and authoritative and this whole master of dogs. And I just thought it was rubbish. My view on it at the time was that this should be a partnership and we should be coexisting, not dictating what needs to happen. And it was literally, I just wanted to change that.
Well, you are changing it.
Oh, thank you.
If people tell us what the learning to listen webinar is, what's it all about, Alfie?
Yeah, so it's one of a part three. I have got the other two parts written, but like we were talking about initially, I keep going back and tweaking them, much to the despair of people like yourself.
You just need
And
to get it
I
out
know,
because I know there are people that
I
are
know. I've had
ready.
so many wonderful people that have done the first one that have all gone, can't wait for the second. And every time I go back to it, I'm under this huge voices in my head going, just get it out there. Unfortunately, with the way that my brain works, I have to literally be forced and then I'll go back and kind of tweak
Well,
to a
then
degree.
let's force you. Because
Absolutely.
as you just said to me before we came live, that I said, there was a lot of things I wanted to change about my course that I put out. And you yourself said, but that's the way to do it, Vic, is you keep
Absolutely.
on changing it. So
Absolutely. My
share
the
the
learning to
love.
listen. I know. It would be great if I actually took my own advice at times, wouldn't it? But let's talk about the first one that's currently available, which is so the other thing that I really wanted to create with the learning to listen. So, like I said, I wanted to strip everything away. So, the first thing that I wanted to do was do something very different from what's out there. I didn't want labels, I didn't want interpretations because very often, not always, but very often, they are not accurate or they are looking for that black and white and we're not exploring that grey area. And that was what I really wanted to open up was that grey area. And so I wanted to come up with something that stripped away labels and more than anything built conversations. Okay, how much information can we gather about what we're seeing? But the other part that I was really passionate about as well was making it interactive. And I wanted those parts where people, if they were comfortable to, could get involved and get really engaged. Like I said, there's so many things out there where you can watch something and learn, which is great. But I wanted that element of stills where we talk about context. I wanted the videos so that we can watch and physically kind of go, oh my Lord, in 7 seconds there was that I could get. Whereas actually I probably would have gone, yeah, the dog was shaking. So it was about stripping everything away and going, okay, as long as you can see the screen, everybody's got the skill to be able to observe. Everybody. As long as you can see the screen, it is really, really that simple. All I need to do is give you the really simple framework of all the things that you should be looking at that we can very much overlook. And that was what it was about. How can we give that to guardians and professionals so that we can open up those levels of communication rather than going, well, when I go near my dog with the brush, it bites. Okay, talk about everything that happened before that. Right, okay, well, actually, my dog turned its head to the side. Actually, there was some lip licking going on. Actually, what I noticed was that the dog slightly leaned back. And it's giving all of those, because then if they share that with us, we can then go, right, okay, I've got a little bit more of a picture, and I now know how better to support you, or I now know how, do you know what I mean, maybe what we could be doing at this moment in time, or okay, what I'd like you to do because the dog is doing that is stop, and we can, do you know what I mean, we can have a discussion about this. So it really opens up the line between dog, guardian, and professional, and it brings everybody into this mix of using the same language. And the same language is not interpretations, the same language is just what you're seeing. Because, again, as Claire and Nicola would have heard me say in the session, I can sit 10 people in a room and 10 people would agree that the dog's tail was wagging. That's an observation. But what you might get is 5 of those people turn around and say, well, the dog's happy. And 5 of those people might go, well, actually, I think the dog's quite nervous. So interpretations are open to what we are believing that they mean. But with observations, they're not open to anyone's interpretation. They are literally like what catchphrase says, say what you see. And that information
I
is,
like that catch.
I know, right? I keep thinking of adding a clip to the webinar that's got Mr. Chips on it. I don't know whether I'd get done for that
You know,
some way.
guess who joined us?
I know.
Slipped in. Did
I've,
you see that?
I've just
She
seen.
slipped in under the radar.
Just after we finished talking about the just to, no.
I no, I know. After we said all that stuff about her.
Oh, I know.
Nice
But
to see
hopefully
you,
she won't
young
watch it back and
lady.
she'll never find out. Um, but yeah, it was, again, it was literally that simple. It was okay, I've been speaking how to make another professional paranoid.
Oh, it was so much, Daniela. So
Absolutely.
much you missed. I don't even know if we
I
it
don't know if we
was
want to repeat it. Not certainly with her on here.
no, 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 no.
But yeah, it was literally about going, what do we need? What does the dog need? And what the dog needs is not for us to necessarily put a label to something that's incorrect. Because again, when we put a label to something, it will then it will then have to, it then impacts our response to the dog as well. So when you put a label like, oh, the dog's being a diva, for example, there is a connotation with that, that the dog is making a choice to be awkward. And
Mhm.
with that then comes a response that we might do off the back of that. Whereas actually the dog, that could be us getting that completely wrong. And there could be a lot more going on behind the scenes. And if we actually gather the observations and then somebody goes, actually, it's not the dog being a diva. What we're actually seeing is that potentially with the observations that you've given me, I believe in that context that actually the dog's feeling quite anxious. Would we react in the same way to a dog that we know is anxious as to a dog that is actually being labelled a diva? So our language and how we interpret that really impacts how we respond.
I think it also, we all are very good at using language in a way that it is straight away sort of can make ourselves um, start thinking in a negative way. What do they say? Words are important, and you have to really be careful what words you say, because that could be the difference between me waking up and going, "Good morning, world. It's going to be a fabulous day.
Absolutely.
Let's start it off positive." And me rolling our bed going, "Oh my God, I feel miserable."
Words have a huge impact.
Mm,
Do you know what I mean? A
yeah.
huge impact. And like I said, we get words wrong even between, or misunderstand or misinterpret, even between humans. And the impact that that has on dogs is massive, especially when, like I said, that information is being shared as well. Do you know what I mean, I've been in a situation where somebody has been told that they have to get their dog neutered in order to go somewhere because they were humping, and they were like, oh, but do you know what I mean? It's because it's sexual. And actually, the emotion that was going on behind, if they had got the observation when that dog was humping, then somebody else would have said, actually, your dog's feeling really overwhelmed in that environment. And probably the worst thing you could do at that moment was to actually neuter that dog because the dog's
Hmm.
feeling overwhelmed. But what we focus on is the shouty behavior, the humping. And what we don't get is, well, actually, the dog's eyes were doing this, the dog's ears was doing this. Right before this happened. We're not getting the conversation. What we get is the most obvious action, and then we run with that. We absolutely run with that,
It's
and it
you can
has a
see
huge
how
impact.
people go down that route though, because Stanley has always his go-to when he gets overwhelmed is humping.
Hmm.
So, but when he was younger, I was like, I'm not, the dog is nervous around anything. So no, it's not happening. I waited till he was 3 before I even considered it, and then I got an implant done.
Yeah,
But I knew there was something not right. And now looking at all the little things and the pieces of information, we're finding that there's some pain's been going on for whatever reason.
yeah,
But if I had gone by his behaviors,
yeah,
his barking, his, vocalization and his humping, and he's just downright being annoying half the time,
yeah.
um, it would have been very easy for me to just say, you know what, I just need to fix it.
And again, we are programmed to take a very um, direct route to a degree. So it's really common for us to, if our dog's humping, to go, okay, well, if A is that, B will fix it. We love
We
we
want a
want.
solution.
Absolutely. We want a direct solution. And again, it's normally a mixture of all types of things. So it's not okay, well, my dog's humping, therefore if I castrate them, that will resolve everything. Because what we do know, certainly with some of the scientific studies out there, is that actually if you neuter a dog in adolescence, they actually continue to go through, it doesn't stop adolescence. They actually continue that process even though the sex hormone has been removed. So very often when you get a dog that's taken in for certain behaviors where people think that neutering is actually going to resolve that, that's not always the case. What we know is that it impacts how the body matures and ligaments, and there's lots of information coming out around the impact of neutering.
Yes.
But for going back to kind of what we were saying at the start, it's really tough for guardians when they have been advised by maybe a professional that that was the right thing to do. And this is where that information sharing is really vital, because it's when we give, this is what's happening, this is what you should do, and we take that ultimately as gospel, it can have a massive impact. And as we say,
Right.
with neutering, you can't undo it.
Donna knew it.
You
That's
can't
what I mean. I do
you can't
advise
stick it in the
everyone
body.
now when they're thinking about it, go for an implant before you make, because you might find that it doesn't solve what you think it might solve.
Yeah, there's
Um,
there's so much information. I mean, the things that we're learning with regards to, do you know what I mean, females in season, and there's just so much. We're obviously sort of learning all the time. But I think, like I said, one of the really powerful things is to be able to observe what happens and not just look at the obvious shouty behaviors, but sit there. And especially, like I said, when a dog is in a certain period of their life, it can be really easy for us to go straight for, well, they're adolescent, so the humping must be sexually motivated because they're in that stage of life, and so it's absolutely going to be that. So it's really easy to get drawn into these. A definitely leads to
I did make that when Stanley started struggling with grooming. Um, my thing was, oh, he's going through his second fear stage. So let's go back to basics. And so that was mine, that I had that knowledge, but it just kept going and going and going. And so, yeah, it's even I still was like, oh, it's second fear stage. So that's what I'm going to go for. And I'm going to be gentle and go back to the beginning. And it didn't change. Daniela actually said that her parents' dog Flynn humps excessively when he's either stressed or overexcited. And
Yeah,
he was neutered before a year old, rescue
yeah,
rules. And I think that's the other thing that Henry, one of Henry's struggles, he was a rescue and he was supposed to have been neutered before he was 5 months old. And I managed to get them to 7 months old. But I think that was one of his issues. And I think the rescues are, there's a lot of talk in trying to help the rescues now because we talk about neutering the dog to stop there being all these strays. But then is it Finland that has no,
Iceland. I think it's
Iceland?
Iceland. I think
Is it
it's
one of those lands? Finland,
yeah,
that one of them that they have that neutering is
neutral.
illegal. It's
Yeah,
illegal. Um, and they have the lowest rate of stray dogs on record.
yeah. I
So
think I kind of got persecuted a little while ago by somebody when I said the rescues that we see at the sort of certainly over here at the moment are not full of dogs from accidental litters. They're full of dogs that were purposely bred. And do you know what I mean? Unfortunately, I'm not saying that accidental litters don't come in, but rescues do you know what I mean? Are unfortunately full of a lot of dogs that somebody chose to breed. Um, it's a big topic, and it's something that
it's a whole other
yeah,
conversation.
it is. But again, with everything, the way that I always sort of approach it is rather than going down that direct route of, well, that's definitely that, it's always why. It's always how much information can I get? Why are they, do you know what I mean? Why are they doing that? Exactly like if you've got a dog that resource guards an item, it's really easy to go, well, the dog finds that item valuable and it's just resource guarding. But why? But why are they, what is going on behind the scenes? And this is where we get into this black and white. And this is where, as we said, sort of from the training to behavior side, it can vary because in effect, I don't know, let's use loose lead walking as an example, because it's one that I get quite a bit, which is, oh, I need to train my dog to loose lead walk. And I go, okay, but normally if a dog's coming to me at a certain age, and is already pulling on the lead, it's got nothing to do with training and everything to do with how that dog processes the world. And you can try and train it within an inch of your life. And the fact is that you will probably always struggle because until you teach the dog how to cope in the world, being able to walk nicely on a lead is very secondary. And so this is why that kind of everything evolves around us gathering as much information as possible and not being drawn into, well, that definitely leads to that. What I say to my clients when they come to me behaviorally is behavior work is normally very different because they expect training. They expect it to be like, but each session we're going to go out and we're going to train and we're going to do this. And actually, that's not the way that it works. It's normally very slow, not flashy, quite dull, quite boring. And I really undersell it and prepare people for how slow and tedious it is. But also, it's like a knotted ball of wool. And my job is to go down each bits of those lines and slowly unpick that knot. So, do you know what I mean? Is it okay? How much sleep are they getting, for example? Okay, is there anything that we can tweak there? Do we need to have a look at it? What about movement and pain? And if there is an element there, who do I go and speak to about that? Because that's not the area that my expertise is in. So I need to go and talk to a professional who is that's what they do and bring them in on, do you know what I mean, on that. What are they eating? Okay, is there a food problem? I need to go and speak to our nutritionist because that's not my area of expertise. And again, it's gathering all the information and having this big knotted ball of wool that you slowly unpick, but having that team of amazing people around you where you can go to and unpick it with the people that are the best at what they do. And this is where, like I said before, we are coming away, thankfully, from this mine. And now what we're starting to do is go, let's collaborate, let's work together, because when
Oh,
we do that, we are offering our clients, and most importantly, the dogs, a much better chance of success. When I send my dog, who's a client, who's got handling issues, to somebody like yourself, somebody like Daniela, I know that they are unlikely to be pushed to the point where they can't cope. So when that dog comes back to me as a behaviourist, they've had to be groomed because they've got a coat that needs maintenance, but that bucket has not been overflowed and we've not taken 5 steps back. And that
yeah.
is huge, really huge.
It is huge. And I think, I mean, I love just being able to have you and other professionals and Daniela as well, because even though, again, that's what I love. We're both groomers, but we can then go, hey, what do you think of this? Um, so, but I have found that 99% of the dogs that come to me, because I predominantly work with dogs that really struggle or they've been fired from somewhere or they have a bite history, the majority of them, or any dog that struggles in the grooming environment, lacks confidence and optimism.
Yeah.
And that is, and Daniela wouldn't be doing her job now if she didn't have a team to collaborate with.
Bless her. Well, I
Yeah.
lived in Swindon. I collaborated. Like I said, this actually sort of with the grooming side was Daniela, which very kindly sung my praises quite highly and put me out there and was like, look, I work with Emma and we collaborate, and like I said, the grooming industry just went awesome. I'll have a bit of that as well. And yeah,
Mhm.
each day emails were coming in from groomers, and I was just absolutely blown away. And the feedback, like I said, I love it when you message me and you're like, I've had a client and they loved it. It's brilliant. And I'm like,
You know, and I can tell you that the people that are on here, I get so much positive feedback. Um, and the only comment that was any leaning towards negative was, but I wanted to know what it means. So when's the next
I
one
know, I
coming in?
know, I know.
So you need to get, so listen, we need to stop because this is just going, we are talking. As always, we
As
talk
always,
too much. Um, we do.
do you
I could
ever
love
talk
it.
too
I
much
could go
about
on
dogs?
for hours. Sorry, what?
Can you ever talk too much about dogs?
What we can't.
No.
We can't, but
Just
perhaps the
how much poor
people.
people can tolerate.
So, because we want to get more people, and I had originally said that this was not going to be available after it was not only going to be available to the members of the Happy Handlers group. And in fact, everyone in this live now is a member of the Happy Handlers group. So you could get it. But I'm thinking that wouldn't it be nice if we actually opened it up so that other people could watch it? And if people in this who are here in the live wanted to share it once it goes out, we can spread that love, that
Absolutely.
knowledge a little bit more, and really try and get more people to observe their dogs. So
Absolutely.
if how long does it last, the webinar?
Ha. So it's it's supposed to be an hour. It normally ends up about an hour and 15, possibly. I keep saying I'm probably going to change it because it does say an hour, but
I would
I do go a little bit over.
I've never had a conversation with you where we don't end up talking for longer than we should.
No, no, and there's just some too much to get out there. Too much to get out there.
Much.
I would say at the minute it's honestly it's about an hour and 15 if I'm being honest. So an hour and 15, like I said, it's live, it's interactive. So pen, paper, people don't have to participate if they don't feel comfortable to. It's literally what people are happy to do. But no, we've had some great people on, some great observations, and it, from a very egotistical point of view, seeing how people start and the observations they make at the start, and then how that completely changes by the end is just like, yes, brilliant. This was the exact reason I wanted to do this. And so it's really fantastic when we get to the end and we revisit the same picture and people are like, I'm looking at it totally differently now. Or normally what I get is an email afterwards where people go, yep, I've just been sat watching my dog for ages. And I'm like, perfect, perfect.
Right? They have a different. I get so much positive feedback. I
Thank
have
you.
just put in the chat the link so that anybody who's watching, and it will go in the post that I am putting out as well. But if you go through the link that's in the post, then you will get a discount on the Speak Dog webinar, and you can get it through my unique code, and I'm giving a discount on it. But
Bargain.
if you share this webinar, it would be fabulous if you share this link. But I do know there are other affiliates around. I'm not going to hold everyone to it. Um,
They
but
are a network of awesome people.
network of awesome people. We've all got a piece of you, Emma. Um, but
I'm not sure whether that's a good thing or not, but okay.
it is. It is. You honestly, I love getting bouncing ideas off you, getting feedback, and sending people your way. It's a wonderful webinar, first in the series. She is
First,
going to get
I
to
will. I
two
promise.
and three.
I promise.
Yes, because we are in line.
I know. I know. Yeah, I know. It is consistently nagging me in the back of my head. So I'm like, just get it done. I've got so many people. So I promise very, very soon it will be ready to roll.
Now, if anyone wants to learn more about Speak Dog Emma Johnston, where is the best place to go?
Just check my website out, which is really nice and simple, www.speakdog.co.uk.
Fabulous.
Or they can see my ramblings on my Facebook page as well.
Which is
Speak Dog. Nice and simply, Speak Dog.
simple.
Yeah.
Okay,
Look
well,
for this
listen.
logo because we do have other Speak Dogs around. So just make sure that you look for this logo.
Ah,
So yes, yes.
good
So
idea. I
yeah.
don't have a logo. I do, but I didn't have it behind me today. Um, Emma, it was a pleasure talking to you
Oh,
as
thank you for
always.
having me on. It's
And I look forward to sharing this once it has processed and done its thing in the background.
absolutely.
Okay, and I will talk to you soon.
Really nice to talk to you. Take care. Thanks ever
Okay,
so
take
much.
care. Bye bye. Bye bye. Thank you, everybody. See you soon. I'll talk to you soon, Emma.
Yeah, take care.
Bye bye.